I'm Rachel Safferstone. I lead XQ's math badging effort. I'll actually be back on stage in a little bit to dig more into the specifics of what we've built. But for now, I'm joined on stage with some co-conspirators. This is fun, we're usually on Zoom, so it's really good to see you in person. XQ has designed our math badging system in partnership with the states that you see represented on the stage today. We've all been working together for a couple of years. We're also deeply grateful for the engagement in this work and that of Shelby Cole, Dr. Shelby Cole, who's in the audience today. Shelby Cole and her team at Student Achievement Partners have led the design work for the badges. Our guests on this panel represent a mix of state departments of education and closely held partners in higher ed and policy and program management who've been deeply engaged in the badging effort in their individual states. Right here is Dr. Veronica Blackham. She's a regional math specialist at Idaho State University. She leads the math badging effort in the state in partnership with the State Department of Education. Next, we have Dr. Robin Hyden. She is an education program consultant at the Kentucky Department of Education Center for Innovation. And then finally, we have Dr. Kyle Westbrook. He is the executive director at the Education Systems Center at Northern Illinois University, which is a policy development and program management organization that has been the convening partner for badging in Illinois. I'd also love to welcome in our audience Dr. Margot DeLon, who is the Associate Deputy Director of the Division of Performance and Accountability from the Bureau of Indian Education. The BIE is our newest badging partner. We also have in the audience a number of math badging educators who've been involved in piloting the math badging in their states and their schools. They've also been really active feedback providers on the work and have helped to build resources for the toolkit. For our panel today, we're going to talk through these states' experiences with math badging, and we're also going to see how the work has been proceeding there overall. So I'm going to start first here with Veronica. The first question is, what led your state to engage in this work, and how did it align to local priorities?
Thanks, Rachel. For Idaho, we really focused in on badging because of our drive to focus on competency-based learning. Mm-hmm. And then that was our initial kind of onset for badging. And then we've continued with the work because we really want to get on the opportunity to offer flexible course pathways for the students. And badging has allowed us to offer personalized and meaningful high school math experiences.
Amazing. Great. And Robin?
Thanks, Rachel. So in the spring of 2021, former Commissioner Dr. Glass embarked on a listening tour throughout Kentucky. He asked students, he asked teachers, he asked various stakeholders this one simple question: what is your vision for the future of Kentucky schools? And from those responses, we created what was called the United We Learn report. And as we were going through all of those responses, there were three key themes that came up. One was encouraging innovation in our schools, especially around the assessment. One was collaboration with communities, and the other most important was providing those vibrant learning experiences for all students of Kentucky. And so what we found as we have navigated our way these last 2 years through this pilot, this really focuses on encouraging innovation, especially around the assessments with the performance tasks and the portfolios, as well as creating those extreme, vibrant learning experiences for each and every one of our students that are involved.
And Kyle?
Yeah, I think in Illinois, one of the things that we do very well is we create multiple priorities for school districts and for community colleges. I can think back to my time at Chicago Public Schools, and at one point we had 17 priorities in a given year. What we don't do very well is help school districts, help community colleges and state universities prioritize the priorities and actually make sense of what that priority means in the day-to-day lives of individual principals, individual teachers, individual students. And so in Illinois, among the many priorities that we've been focused on, particularly at higher education and in K-12, has been competency-based education. And so we as an organization feel that this should be one of our state's highest priorities, and it is largely one of our large organizational priorities to work with folks around the state to understand what it means within their context. And we felt that math badging was a particularly interesting, innovative approach to ultimately undermining the Carnegie Unit that Tim has been railing about for the last 2 days, and that we as a country have been suffering from for 100 100 plus years. And this was really a great opportunity to undermine that Carnegie Unit.
Well, thank you all for joining us on that. Would love to next talk a little bit about the core areas of focus across the last 2 years in your state. So each of you came kind of for different purposes, and you've taken different paths. So let's talk a bit more about that. Veronica, first to you.
Yeah, in Idaho, our first 2 years have really focused on leveraging the math badges to transform high school math, and as I mentioned, to offer the meaningful and personalized pathways for students. Thank you for the cue of the slide. So in this slide, our Idaho Math Transitions work has really focused on giving students advanced opportunities in mathematics. You'll kind of notice here that there's this sort of blank white space, and that's an intentionally left blank space. So in the first couple years of math, we believe that students should kind of have on grade level math, but then we want to design opportunities that focus in on the students' interests for college careers and real life. And badging has been a way that we can offer choice for the students that align to those different pathways. The right path is kind of that more traditional path that leads to calculus. And we know that it's not really preparing the majority of children for their futures. So building off what Frank mentioned, I want to say, he said every school in America should effectively prepare every student either for college, a career, and real life in the real world. No exceptions, no excuses. We know that calculus being the only option didn't do that for Idaho, and we wanted to figure out a way to be able to do that for our Idaho high school students. They need interest-driven pathways. They need pathways where it can support the students that are attending college not in a STEM pathway. It can support those students that are workforce bound and military bound. And badging filled that space for us and offered opportunities for all futures for all students.
Amazing. Robin?
Yes, so in Kentucky, we took a little bit of a different approach. We focused on Algebra 1, since Algebra 1 is the gateway with mathematics for students in the high school. And so one thing that we really wanted to focus on was, what does vibrant learning experiences really mean for students? And so we surveyed the teachers that were part of this pilot and asked them, what does vibrant learning mean for you? And we got various responses. So this really allowed us to partner with our Kentucky Center for Mathematics. It allowed us to partner with Shelby Cole and her team from SAP. And it also allowed us to even partner within our own Kentucky Department of Education with our secondary math specialist, Maggie Doyle, who has been a tremendous part of this pilot. And so what we found was we really needed to model what those vibrant learning experiences would look like and provide the professional learning for the teachers so they felt successful in implementing these badges into the classroom. And so one thing that we have found is that the students were really, truly engaged in the vibrant learning experiences through this pilot.
Thank you. And similarly, in Illinois, one of the things that we thought was important was first to hear from educators about what the practical implications of math badges would be in their classrooms, in their schools, and in their contexts. And so our team set about hearing and doing some listening from different school districts in different contexts, whether that was urban districts like the city of Chicago, suburban districts, rural communities, mid-sized towns, to understand where are the opportunities that math badges could actually make a real difference for students, and then how to align those opportunities with what some of the local and state priorities were and are. And so a couple of areas that we've zeroed in on are areas around supporting using math badges to think about differently about work-based learning. How do we reward students, incentivize them, keep them motivated to engage in meaningful work-based learning opportunities? How do we have a course in Illinois called the Transitional Math course, which is meant to really help disrupt what I call the developmental education industrial complex. But that DevEd, remedial education pathway that we know is more often than not a path to nowhere for students. How do we disrupt that? And one of the ways that we've been thinking about it is we have this course in Illinois that was developed to give students in their senior year who may be on the path towards developmental education, take this course, have some success in this course, and then you are are automatically opted out of your developmental education course. So we've been thinking about how do we use math badges within that course also to demonstrate competency, proficiency for students who maybe haven't had the best experiences with math in the past. And then finally, I think he's in the audience, Jeremy Hudson from Charleston High School has been doing incredible work around how do you use math badges in our career and technical education courses. So much so that there's been such great success and student enthusiasm for that project, and the student learning has proceeded in such a way that is really forcing the teachers to really rethink the way they do geometry and construction and the way in which they are implementing math in a very career-focused area. And so those are some of the ways that we really thought about the utility, the function, and really, I think, the pathway to take an innovation into the classroom and then begin to build some proof points for it.
Amazing. Thank you all. So this is still a very new program, but I was wondering if you could talk a bit about the kind of change and impact that you've seen so far.
Yeah, for us, it's definitely been the impact on the students. We're seeing students that are shifting their mindsets about mathematics. They're starting to see math as a tool to engage with their communities and to shape their futures. Monday night, I had the opportunity to meet Larry Berger, and with a brief conversation with him and Shelby, the topic came up, is badging gonna stick around? And I've had a little more time to think about that, and honestly, I do believe that future iterations of badging will continue to stick around. I think the work's not done yet, but the reason why it's going to stick around is the profound impact it has on students. In the audience and able to attend this event is 3 teachers from Idaho. If you get a chance to talk to them, they will tell you the work is hard, but it's meaningful and it's making a difference in students' lives. I want to just share a brief story from one of their students. Shelly teaches at an alternative independence high school in Idaho, and it has a population of a lot of underserved students. Through the badges modeling with 1 and 2 variable measurement data, her students were able to examine traffic patterns and crash data and then present it to an audience of adults, of the transportation department, of the city mayor, of the chief of police. And during that experience, the students started to believe that they were valued, they believed they were heard, that their voices mattered. And it was amazing to see when they got awarded the badges, this feeling of accomplishment and the proudness that they felt. And even Sherry and Leslie's students, they'll tell you, their mindset about math has shifted from I hate math to it's not so bad. And even that shift has shown that they're not afraid of their future. Like, math isn't stopping them from their future, which it has in the past. The teacher work's not easy, for sure. As we just heard, implementation of all these ideas we're talking about is really the hard work. And, it's worth it because it's meaningful to the students.
Thank you. Rob?
So I'm going to build a little bit off of what Veronica said, because our focus also was our students. And this part was the most exciting and rewarding for me. In the spring, I got to go in some of our pilot districts and form teacher and student focus groups. And I got to ask them, what were your perspectives on this? This is so new, and you guys are the first one in the state that are piloting this. Tell me what you feel. Tell me what you thought about it. And students are very honest, and they will tell you exactly what they think. And I heard students that said they were actually able to show creativity through mathematics for the first time ever. They were able to demonstrate mastery in a way that made sense to them. Engaging through these models and these badges, they found that math is real world. Like, they found relevance in the mathematics. And the teachers also talked about how their implementation changed. We also have a Kentucky math teacher here with us, Amy Lee's gang, who will be presenting later on. And her students were some of the most engaging students throughout the pilot, and some of the most vocal ones on how they thought the pilot went. The teachers said that they have never seen students so engaged. And just that sense of, I'm not a math person, I can't do this. You know, it completely changed, and they were able to show that they understand, but it's just different than a traditional standardized test. They were able to put together their portfolio pieces and work on these performance tasks and build things that were just so out of the norm than what they were used to. I will say that the students who were in this pilot and have now moved on to geometry are bored. We have heard some comments that I'm back in this traditional geometry class and it's back to the same old, same old. And so I will say that's something that we're looking at. So.
And similarly, I know that our team has heard also that, I'm back in that space
Yes.
where it's very traditional.
Yes.
And I think what that speaks to is our students' hunger for challenges, and it speaks to the fact that once you demystify mathematics and provide it in a real, relevant, and real world situation, that our students, and I was one of those students who was math averse. I was a history teacher, and we're once students see that they can have some success and it's not mysterious and it's not something that's intimidating, then they can look for and actually hunger for more of those opportunities. And part of what we do at EdSystems is we will work with school districts, community colleges, and to a lesser extent four-year universities on piloting different things and then packaging them up and helping our state agencies understand this is what works. And also echoing Larry from yesterday, where he talked about the 0.2% solutions. My head is really not oriented around 0.2%, so I like to think about 1% solutions. What are the 101% solutions that we can bring to bear to really create the kinds of opportunities that our students need? And I think of math badging as one of those 1% of solutions. It's one of those opportunities for us to make headway, and in our case, be able to demonstrate to our state agencies and our elected officials that here's something that works, and here's what it costs. Now, you all figure out how to put the resources to it and to prioritize it for our state, but we know what works. And it's not just math badging, it's other innovations. I was speaking with someone yesterday who is taking a very similar approach to history education, and how do we use sort of the same framework around history education. And so I think it's really about building all these proof points, building a case, not just within our states, but within our country for what's possible when we move away from measuring our students' progress by just how much time they've sat in a seat.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we are almost at time, I'm afraid. I could talk to you all day. Veronica, I want to just turn to you really briefly to talk about a really exciting work underway in Idaho to help start moving us a bit further towards that Carnegie Unit vesting.
Yeah, in Idaho, what we're working on right now is putting the math badges into a SkillStack program. So SkillStack is an Idaho-built micro-certification, micro-credentialing system, and it supports, if we can get the badges in there and get the teachers using that, it will support proper math placement in college so that students aren't placed in college courses that are too easy or too difficult, which both scenarios lead to failure, dropout rates at the college level. It'll also support industry-driven micro-credentials, so the students are more workforce ready. And I just want to add to what we're excited about bringing up next is to add student voices to the table. So this last couple days has really inspired us to bring students into making these decisions and figuring out what they need along the way.
Wow, amazing. It is a privilege to work with you all, and we're not done, so we have tons of work to do, but I'm so excited to be digging in with you. Thank you.
Thank you.